issues with the system and so on. So for the submission, I will just quickly go over. And as I already discussed in last class, please make sure if you miss anything, just go over the lecture video and then see like what has been discussed in there. If you are not able to see or to watch the lecture, then just ask us like what problem you're facing. From now onwards, we'll also record the attendance. So make sure whether you are attending through Zoom or face to face, just make sure to attend the class because the attendance is mandatory from the university side now. So I have to record the attendance for all. So make sure you mark your attendance. So attendance will be recorded because already the Zoom sessions are kept on record. So that will be recorded automatically once you log in through the Zoom.
I have a question about GitHub with Cloudera.
Uh-huh.
Um, Through Firefox on Cloudera, it was not able to upload files to GitHub. Is there a patch or something that we have to get? Or is there another browser that we can put into Cloudera?
Um, can you explain a little bit like what exactly you want to say? You mean like you cannot able to access the browser using the Cloudera or what?
I can access Firefox in Cloudera, but when I go to GitHub through Firefox on via Cloudera through the virtual machine, the
Uh-huh.
upload file, the add file to the repository, to the GitHub repository is grayed out. There's no option to add a file through Cloudera, but I can go to the exact same repository through my laptop,
Mm-hmm.
and I can add it through either um, any browser on my laptop. I can add the file to GitHub, but
So
not
the
via.
Cloudera has the normal browser. Did you access that one?
Yeah, the Firefox. Yeah, that one is that option is not available in there.
Okay. I will check once you are in your breakout room. I'll check in your system and see. Let's see, like, why
Okay.
you are not able to access that. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm. All right. So for the second lecture today, we are on second lecture. We'll be covering the MapReduce, Hadoop, and its components. So regarding the submission, please make sure many of you ask like where to submit. Okay. Once you have the lesson plan that has been uploaded to our repository in the GitHub, in the top there is a form link. Using that form link, you can just provide the feedback through that. Or if there is anything, for example, you have missed anything or any lecture or any deadline, make sure you provide us the link in the suggestions and comments using that form. And for the submission of the ICP, make sure you submit in the same repository. That's what we provide you. All right. And also from next class, I will conduct a survey through the forms and I will ask your um, like whether you want to take the class as an in-person or the Zoom. So for every class, you have to let us know like whether you are going to take this class as an in-person or through the Zoom, okay? So if it is required, I may ask you that. All right. Yeah, if you have any concerns regarding your grading, please let the grader know. Um, yeah, so I can give his name. That is Muhammad Zubair Khan. He is the TA for this class. So if you have any concern with the grading, please just email him. He'll explain it to you, and he'll just give you the comments about your grade. Okay, are you able to see my screen? Can anyone answer?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let's start with the lecture. Our today's lecture is mainly about the Hadoop and its two components, that is Hadoop MapReduce and HDFS. So in today's lecture, we will cover the overview of the Hadoop, some of its prerequisites if you are using your native system, and then Hadoop MapReduce, which is one of the component of the Hadoop, and then Hadoop distributed file system, which is the second component, and then the use case word count, where you will work on one of the ICP. Once I reach to the ICP, I'll quickly discuss how to submit your ICP. So in the similar way, you will submit your ICP for all of your remaining ICPs and today's ICPs also. So I think I don't have to go over the syllabus again. Syllabus, as I said, like syllabus is the tentative syllabus. If there is any changes in the syllabus, we will discuss that in class. So make sure you carefully listen to the lecture, or if you miss anything, the lecture video will be provided to you. Just go over the video and see like what has been discussed in class. All right, so this is the some of the prerequisites. Make sure these prerequisites are only for those who are using the Hadoop in your native system, since we are using Cloudera. So you don't have to worry about that. So let's see what is actually Hadoop. All right. So basically, Hadoop is a software framework which supports the data-intensive distributed applications under a free license. This is mainly a standalone cluster, which is used for the processing of the large amount of the data. So basically, it enables applications to work with thousands of computational independent computers, and it handles the petabytes of the data. So this is an open source implementation of MapReduce, which was by Apache Software Foundation and created by the Doe Cutting. This is derived from the Google's MapReduce, which was done from one of the paper that is published in 2004 and Google File System papers. So how does the architecture look like? Basically, the Hadoop architecture is mainly like the master-slave architecture. It has the single master node and the many worker nodes, where the client submit a job to master node, and master node responsibility is to split that job into tasks, which we call as a map reduce task, and assign that tasks to the worker nodes. So that is the one of the component, which is the map reduce task, which is used for the processing of the data. The second one is the HDFS, which is mainly used for the storage of the data. That is, it also contains the single name node and with many data nodes. These files are stored as large and fixed size. For example, this is the standard size, which is the 64 MB in the form of the blocks, but it can be more, that is the 128 and more, so on. So the minimum is the 64 MB. HDFS typically holds the map input and the reduced output. So we have here two functions, that is the mapper and reducer. We'll see how it works. So here is the name node, and then the job tracker, which keeps the records of the jobs. That is the files are transferred to the data nodes for the processing, and how the processing is done in the form of the map and reduce. That is mapping is actually the transformation of the data over the nodes, while reducing in the reducing phase, you get the aggregate output. So here we have the secondary name node. And the secondary name node is basically used to replicate all of the data. That is why Hadoop is also fault tolerant. In case like if one node fails, and in that case the data is not lost, that is already replicated over the other nodes. So in case a node fails in between, you do not lose your data or tasks. How the job scheduling is done in Hadoop? So for each job, like one map
Yeah,
task.
excuse me, Professor.
Sorry, any question?
Will the data nodes will also be replicated?
No, the data on the data nodes will be replicated. For example, we are talking about the fault tolerant issues. So the replication of the files, the blocks, the data which you provide in the form of the blocks, that are actually replicated over the data nodes.
Like, what if the data is lost in the data node? You said only there is the secondary name node where there is a fault tolerance. What if data is lost in the data node?
Now, in the data nodes also, there is a replication of the data. So the data is replication. For example, we have, let's say, data nodes D1, D2, D3, right? And we have different, like, let's say, starting from the D1 till Dn. And then we have different, let's say, blocks of data, let's say B1, B2, B3. So this B1 is, let's say, replicated three times over the data nodes. Then B2 is replicated three times over the data nodes. Similarly, B3 is replicated, let's say, three times over the data nodes.
Okay.
Getting the point?
Okay.
Yeah. So how the data is transformed over the nodes? That is basically it applies the user-defined map function to each record in the block. What does the record contains? It's basically transformation is done in the form of the key value pairs. So for every record, you have the keys where different values are assigned to it. Then we have if for each reduced task is assigned a set of record groups, and for each group, we apply the user-defined reduce functions to record those values in that group. We will see how the key value pairs are generated, how they are shuffled, and how they are reduced. In the reduce task, read from every map task, and each read returns the record groups for that reduced task. So how the data flow is done in the Hadoop? So basically, map tasks write their output to local disk. Everything is done like reading and writing is done through the local disk, and output is available after map task has been completed. Then the reduce task write their output to the HDFS. Once job is finished, next job map task can be scheduled and will read input from HDFS. So the reading and writing, like the before the task is read from the HDFS, and the final output is written to the HDFS. But where like the output is stored in between through the HTTP via HTTP, it is done on the local disk. So that therefore the fault tolerance is simple, simply rerun tasks on failure, and no consumers see partial operator output. So how the data flows? Basically, users submit a job to master nodes where the mapper reads the job in the form of the blocks. That data is read in the form of the blocks, let's say 64 MB, 128 MB from HDFS, and then it is written to the local disk, and then the reducer gets that through the HTTP. And once the reduction and aggregate function is applied, the answers and the output is written back to the HDFS. So this is how the data flows in the MapReduce. So Hadoop MapReduce, this is mainly, that is all about like how that is done, the whole process, how the data flows in the Hadoop. So Hadoop MapReduce basically split the files in the blocks. It operates on the key value pairs. Mapper filter and transforms the input data, while the reducer aggregates mapper output. So we will see in the word count example what is the job of the mapper, how it uses and how it transforms the data, and then what is the job of the reducer, how it aggregates the mapper's output. So this all is done in the form of the key value pairs. And this is the efficient way to process the cluster, that is move code to data and run code on all the machines. So let's see separately what is the job of the mapper and what is the job of the Reducer, so mapper, as I said, mapper maps the input key value pairs to a set of intermediate key value pairs. Mappers are the individual tasks that transforms input records into intermediate records. So for example, like we have, let's say, a paragraph or for word count, let's say, and we want to see how many times the number of words occurred in that paragraph. So how it will be done for each of the record, let's say there is a key for each of the key, there is a value assigned to it. And then those keys and values are shuffled until and unless the matching values are formed for each of the keys. And then in that manner, it is transferred to the reducer where the reducer match those value and aggregate the output. So the transformed intermediate records do not need to be of the same type as the input records. A given input pair may map to 0 or many output pairs. So in the reducer phase, we have basically three primary phases. That is the shuffle, sort, and reduce. So the shuffling and then sorting, as I said, the shuffling of the key and values is performed, and then sorting is done. Like for each the keys, the particular values are assigned, the values are matched according to that, and then in the reducer phase, the aggregate output is performed, like the aggregation or the summing up of those same values, keys, values pairs are summed up together to see like how many times the words or any data has occurred. So in the shuffling process, input to reducer is the sorted output of the mappers. This everything is done like in this phase, the framework fetches the relevant partition of the output of all mappers through the HTTP. Then this is the same words because most of the things will be repetitive. So the sorting in that framework reducer inputs by keys, since different mappers may have output the same key in the stage. And then the shuffling and sorting phase, this occurs actually simultaneously while map outputs are being fetched, so they are merged. And a reducer is basically mainly for the aggregation of that output that is you get through the mapper. So in this phase, the reduce method is called for each of the keys or the list of the values pair in the group inputs. And then the output of the reducer task is typically written to the file system, while the output of the reducer is not sorted. So how this is done? So this is the mapper. Let's say we have the data in the mapper, it is transformed, and in the reducer part, all of these steps are done. That is the sorting and shuffling and then reducing, while sorting and shuffling is done simultaneously. Then we have the another component which is mainly used for the storage purposes, that is the HDFS. In that, this also operates on the master slave architecture. In that, the data is distributed and replicated over multiple machines, and files are not stored contiguously on servers broken up into blocks. Basically, this is also designed for large files. It can be GB, TB, or petabytes. It is definitely block oriented. Some of the Linux style commands which are used, for example, listing, copying, or making directory or moving. So these are used in the HDFS. You'll also be using that using your Cloudera for the HDFS. All right, so the Hadoop distributed file system is a distributed file system designed to run on commodity hardware. This is basically highly fault tolerant while because the data is already replicated. And in that case, the data is not lost. The data is replicated minimum, let's say 3 times over the nodes, the data nodes. And in that case, if one of the node fails, the data is still available on the other data node. HDFS provides high throughput access to application data and is suitable for applications that have large data sets. And because this relaxes a few POSIX requirements to enable streaming access to file system data. Again, it was originally built as an infrastructure for Apache NudgeWeb, and it is part of Hadoop core project. So this is how the HDFS files work. We have different types of data nodes. The reading and writing operations is done on that code of the data nodes, and then we have it is done in the form of the blocks. You can see how the application is done. Let's say these are the blocks and the blocks of the data. These are replicated over the data nodes. So as I said, how the data is replicated, minimum 3, let's say B1, B2, B in a block of data. Do you have data from D1 to Dn? So from each of, let's say D1 has B1 placed D3 has also B1 block based, and D4 has also B1 block based. So 3 times the data is replicated over the data nodes. So in that case, the data is not lost. All right, so these are the simple things which we already discussed. That is the name node and data nodes. That is the master slave architecture, how the cluster consists of the single name node and a master server that manages the file system, that is namespace, and regulates access to files by clients. So there are a number of the data nodes, usually one per node in the cluster, which manage storage attached to the nodes that they run on. And then we have also like, these are the repeated things. Okay, a file is split into the blocks and these blocks are stored in the set of the data nodes. All right, so these are the name nodes and data nodes, how the files is executed using the name nodes and namespace operations like opening, closing, renaming files and directories, or the deletion of the files, or how the creation of the block is done, the data nodes through, or how the replication is done over the data nodes. So all of things are done on the data nodes also. So these are responsible for the read and write request also from the file system clients. And the name node and data nodes are pieces of the software designed to run on the commodity machines. All right, so these machines typically run on the GNU or Linux operating system, and this HDFS is built using the Java language. So you'll be using the Java language. Any machine that supports Java can run the name node and data node software. So this is highly portable Java language. That means that HDFS can be deployed on a wide range of the machines. So this is all the things that we already discussed. So make sure the data node is responsible for the reading, writing operation, deletion, creation of the blocks, replication of the blocks. So everything is done on the data node. So in case if one of the data nodes, let's say, fails, so the data is not lost in any case. So this is the physical, okay, architecture. Different workflows, going to the different workflow. This is actually how data is operated in the parallel, how it is single point, then multi-stage, like iteratively going, and then dynamic and inverse tree. So each of this is the workflow pattern. That is the how the data is operated over the data nodes, if whether if it goes the iteratively, or it goes parallelly over the all nodes, or it is the if it is multi-stage, or it goes the dynamically. So these are the basically like the few algorithms which are not limited definitely, but these are the different workloads which can be used for the operation of the data. This is one of the survey, like how the Hadoop applicability by workflow. The total score is given is the data parallel inputs and then scattered inverse tree, dynamic, or iteration. So this is the research done in terms
Professor,
of data management, Hadoop implementation. Yes.
like how do we describe the workflow? Like how do we like which kind of task we set the workflow? Any particular?
Yeah, so basically here you see like data parallel in terms of the Hadoop implementation, data management, like data parallelly. How the parallelly data is processed. For example, parallelly on all the nodes, how the data is processed, how the data is executed. Then
Uh,
similarly, if you go iteratively, how the data is iterative, like is it in the form of the iteration? By parallelly means, let's say, let me give you an example. Let's say we have the number of users. For example, somebody wants to get the data processed in a timely manner, right? So they are using all of the nodes, let's say, and they are not, they are just using all of the nodes for the processing of that data. And parallelly, tasks are equally distributed among the nodes, right? And the data is parallelly executed over that nodes. There is some of the user who wants like, okay, it should be cost effective, just transform this data in the form of the iterations. And once one thing is complete, no matter like how much time does it takes, once one the data processing is complete, then go for the other one, right? So this is actually the type of the workflow that is used for the processing of the data, for the processing of the tasks. Is it done parallelly on all of the nodes, or is it done iteratively for some blocks? For example, let's say block one should be the data of the block one, let's say, should be processed, and then block two, and then so on. Getting the point?
okay, yes, yes, Professor. Yeah, thank you.
Just like the processing of the tasks, how the tasks are processed over the data nodes. So these are some of the merits and demerits of Hadoop over DBMS, some of the pros and cons of using the normal relational databases or the Hadoop. So this is in terms of the like scalability and how, what is the major differences. For example, like the relational databases operates on the tables, and here the key value pairs are performed and how the data is processed. So let's say you are using SQL there. This can be done in the offline and in the form of the batches, while relation database is in the online and it is done in the real time. So some of the pros and cons of the Hadoop over the DBMS. So we can see like the major advantages of Hadoop, using Hadoop, is that it is scalable, it is fault tolerant, and it is self-healing, rebalances files across the cluster, and definitely highly flexible in terms of the dependencies on the data model. And then the schema, you will see, you will use the schemas using the components of the Hadoop ecosystem, like let's say Hive. You will use the same schemas, and then you can load the many datas by just editing those schemas, and then you can process that data. In the later lectures, you will see how Hadoop is useful in terms of using the existing schemas.
One second. So
Yes.
in terms of what we can say, it is a low efficient processing system.
Okay, so because everything is done over the, for example, you are writing everything on the disk, let's say, and while loading and writing, reading and writing operation is done over the disk. That's why it makes a little bit slow, the process slow, and also in the form of the batches. So, for example, if I compare this with the other relation databases, or let's say we will see the second component of it as the Spark. So there everything is done within the memory. While here we use the local disks for reading, for storing the data, or let it be
Intermediate results. Yeah.
it uses the disks. So in
Okay.
terms of that, it is a little bit low efficient than the others.
Okay, Professor, one more thing. So we know that it's a single point of failure, right? If my main master node is going to be down, let us say, in that case, we can't access the data inside it, right? So it is a single point of failure as well, right?
Yeah.
Though
So
we have one replication of the master node, if what if
yes.
both the nodes are going to down?
So you can have like more. It's not like necessary. You have like, say, we have more secondary name nodes where all of the data is stored. On the data node, you have separately like blocks of the data stored, while all of the data, for example, the master node is replicated to the secondary name node. And you can have more also.
Okay.
Initially, when it was designed, it's just have like one, but now like with time, you can have more also. Master
Okay.
node, secondary name nodes.
Yeah. Sure.
Right, so if you do not know any commands, for example, you're new to Linux, these are just the Hadoop commands, but they're also like the, you can use, for example, you do not know anything about the Linux commands, so you can just please make sure you go over the link, this link, or you can just type hadoop.apache.org and then see, just Google it, and you can, using the same site, you can just see some Hadoop commands that will be useful for you if you're using the use for your ICP. All right, so coming to the use case, you have given a use case of the word count. Okay, this is the same. I'll just go over the lesson plan here. I'm talking about this form. Make sure you click on this form. If there is any additional link, let's say your video link, just provide us through the suggestions and comments. If you open this form, it has a section of suggestions and comments. If you have any suggestion, just give us in that. Or if you have any link to your video, just provide us through that form. Okay, is it clear? And submission should be done in our own repository. I will check out like if the browser in the Cloudera is not working, I will see like how you have to submit your ICP using the GitHub. And you may use your native system, not the Cloudera. You may just send it because you have to just send the screenshots, and then you can create it in your native system and then upload it to the GitHub. This is how you can also do if you're unable to do it through the Cloudera. But make sure to use the same repository that has been provided to you in the using this classroom.github.com. you can use the same one and you can just submit your ICPs here by just providing us a PDF file or a Word file using the same. All right. So here we have you can use IDE. The instructions for the Eclipse is given to you. I would recommend, because Cloudera has built-in Eclipse. So use the same one rather than downloading another IntelliJ and then using IntelliJ. The Eclipse instructions are already given. Follow that instructions and use the same one, because you can work in your using command line, but I would recommend to use the IDE, because that is more visual and you can work easily using that. So make sure to use the Eclipse rather than going for the IntelliJ, because some people are used to with the IntelliJ. For that, you need to download that explicitly in your Cloudera, and then you have to work on that. But I would recommend just to use the Eclipse for that. All right, so this is the use case given. We have given you a data set, and there is a text data, let's say lorem. You have to use that data, and then we have given two the source code contain two files, let's say mapper and reducer. So what you can do is you can just map the data using the mapper, and then you can just aggregate that data using the reducer. I would say there are two ways you need to do. You can just either just apply all of the things in the mapper, and then in the reducer phase, you just sort the data. However, there'll be burden on make sure you understand if you do everything in mapper, because this is your ICP, you need to understand that we may evaluate you on the basis of your explanation, how you're giving explanation of the mapper and reducer, because it depends on you how you are transforming that data that we have provided you, and what operations you are using in your reducer phase. Either you are using mapper just for the transformation of the data and reducer for the rest part of the work, while you're just giving the reducer the sorted data already, and then you are aggregating that. So it depends on you how you are using the mapper and reducer. So this is the text file. You can use download the text file from here. This is the step-by-step explanation of word count problem. In case you're totally new to the programming, let's say, you can just go over this and explore it. And otherwise, it is pretty simple because you have the prerequisites, and then you can just cover that. So for this one, I was talking like, for example, counting the frequency of words in given text file that starts with letter A. So there are two ways. If you're using mapper, you're transforming the data, you are already transforming the data in such a way that you are only giving the reducer as it is the data that is starting from A, while the reducer is just aggregating that data. Or you are transforming the whole data using mapper, and even the counting the frequency of the words, and also like the data that starts from A is already done with the reducer. So only like the key values pairs are formed using the mapper, rest of the work is done by the reducer. So there can be both ways. It's up to you what way you want to perform, but make sure once you give the explanation of your ICP with your screenshot, you should know what is the advantages of using mapper and reducer as it is. For example, you are giving the reducer the data only that starts with the A, and then in that they are actually using the number of the frequency of the words, for example the sorting that is performed, or you are just transforming the data like you did for the part one, and then everything you are doing inside the reducer phase. So it's up to you. Make sure you give the good explanation why you're using mapper for that only, and why you're using reducer in terms of the timely efficient program, which will be timely efficient if you are giving reducer the reduced output already, and then it is sorting the data, aggregating that output that is obtained from the mapper. Or if you are just transforming it to the mapper, all of the data like you did it in number one, and then in the reducer phase you are just applying your logic. So it's up to you for the mainly for the question number 2 here, counting the frequency of words in given text file that starts with A. So it's up to you whether you are just using the reducer for your logic or mapper for your logic. All right, so this is the text file and the following example. So how you need to do, make sure this is the case sensitive. So use the small a. So this is the input text and then this is the output. So this is by that I mean like the transformation of the data. Let's say you're transforming the data, whole data, like you did it number one in the form of the key value pairs, all of the text, and you are just passing that text, the key values, you're passing those key values to the reducer. One is this way. Another way is you are just sorting the data, you're applying your logic. Let's say you are passing the words ashes, add, amazing, these four words to the reducer, and then where reducer performs its operations, like you can just aggregate or the sum up that words in the reducer phase. So you are not providing reducer time and cat, so these type of words, because you have already applied logic in your mapper. So it's up to you. If you are transforming the whole data, if you are transforming the whole key values to the reducer and everything is done inside the reducer, or if you are giving the already sorted data, like that the data that starts from the A, the case sensitive, the small a, and then the reducer is performing the word count on that. This is one of the bonus question, because till this you're done with your ICP. But if you want to operate your bonus question in case like you lose even a 0.1 mark, so that should be added by your bonus question, because there is always a room for improvement. So you can just do the bonus question, that is the determine the prime number in input and print number only once. So the output should look something like this. So 0 is prime, 1 is not prime, and like that. All right, going over the submissions, we have made team already. That is the pair, that is the 4 students team. And also, once you complete your ICP, you can just present it to the TA or instructor before the completion of the class. It's up to you. Even if you are not able to complete, still you have deadline till Wednesday. So you can just complete a deadline before Wednesday, 12 a.m. before 12 a.m. But make sure if you submit it after the deadline, that is Wednesday, that will be considered as late submission. And you know, you can just check the late submission policy in the syllabus.